how to replace oil filter housing. They're made out of plastic, and when they get old, they want to start leaking. Let's do it. Take off air filter tube. Disconnect wire connectors. Pop it off of here. Put that to the side like that. Got a bungee cord. Put them to the side. Brake cleaner, shoot some in the vacuum hose. Helps to release, and it comes out real easy that way. Okay. Put that to the side. There's two 10mm nuts right here. We're going to take those out. Little ratchet wrench. $10mm nut. One. Two. Have another vacuum hose over here. Gotta take that out. Spray some more brake cleaner into the hose. Lift up one end of the hose. Spray some brake cleaner in there to help release it. There. Right off. Brake cleaner is magic. There's another bracket here that needs to get removed. $10mm nut. By the way, you should disconnect your battery when doing this. But if you're a professional already, you probably wouldn't want to. Because the newer cars, every time you disconnect the battery, you could run into problems that you don't want. It'll tie up your day when you start running into problems. Right down at the bracket, at the bottom of the bracket right here, there's a wiring harness on the lower. There's a stud. Look like a 13mm or a ½ inch. I'm going to push that off of there. Push the wiring harness off. And then remove the 13mm or ½ inch. Your ratchet wrench. I have to use the open end. I need a little bit more wiggle room, so I have to pull up the harness. off of this stud here. Make some wiggle room. Very tight space at the bottom. To remove this stud, 13 millimeter. Now I get the bracket out of the way. There's one retainer clip over here. You just go ahead and pry it up, pop it out from the back, and that's how you get that out. One retainer clip in the front, hose clamp, and pop that out the back. Now I want to blow out the dirt, the sand, before I go any further. Next, I'm going to use a 7 millimeter deep socket to remove the screws for the intake upper plenum. Next, we're going to remove the injector wiring harness. Put up on the red locking tabs. One, two, three, get these out of the way. There's one strap right here. There's one more strap at the bottom. That one is hard to reach. There we go. I'm going to do a little bit more cleaning up. Now I'm going to disconnect the fuel line. Just in case we get fuel spraying, I'm going to soak it up to that right there. Okay. Push the white clip all the way in to release off of there. First, you're going to remove blue lock before doing that. Now that we have fuel spill here, you want to be careful what kind of tool you're using. You don't want to start a fire. It would be best to use hand tool. I'm going to remove the lower intake manifold. I'm using a longer extension to stay up higher from the gas because I'm going to use an electric tool to get them out. Now the next thing I'm going to do, now that the vehicle is cooling down, I can release the antifreeze from the radiator, because you have great coolants running through the oil filter housing. So you need to drain out your radiator now before taking that out. Okay, so while the coolant is draining, by the way, the coolant drain plug is on the driver's side. Push your hand straight down here side of the battery and loosen the drain plug, put a bucket in the bottom and catch your coolant. And release the cap. That way the coolant will drain much faster. So the next thing I'm going to do now is, while that's draining, I'm going to start taking my wire connector off the oil filter housing. There's two sensors there. Next, you're going to need to remove 4 torque screws on the housing, and I'm using an E8 torque socket. Actually, there are 5 screws. You have one hidden back here. I'm going to let the coolant finish drain completely out of the radiator before removing that. I don't want no coolant spill or mixture of coolant and oil. Now that the coolant is drained, we can go ahead and lift this out of place. There is a coolant hose that needs to be disconnected. It'd be easy if I can get that one strap off of there. Special hose clamp tool. You can use a pliers also. That's how you get it out. So that's where it sits. We're going to have to go ahead and clean up all of the oil spill. That's the very reason why I'm replacing this oil filter housing, because it's leaking oil. And you will not see that coming down on the ground until this whole valley here gets filled up like a bucket, and then it starts to flow over in the backside. There's 2 knock sensors, one there and one here. Knock sensors. That's where they're at. That's how far you gotta go if you need to replace your knock sensor. Installing the new oil filter housing. Install your water hose back on there. You may have to take the sensors off the old one and replace it on the new one. Then you have an O-ring here that has to sit down in the hole. I usually put a little brake cleaner on there. That makes it slippery and helps to install a lot easier without pinching the sealer and break it. There, it's that easy, it's in. Just gotta put some bolts down on it now. Tighten up the screws. Tighten up the bolts. Don't over tighten. Always hear me say don't over tighten. These are just plastic with little skinny bolts on there. You go back over the bolts 2-3 times. And that's how you install it. Let's make more videos.